Welcome, everyone. I must apologize for dragging you all here at such an uncommon hour, but from what I've been told, this matter needs to be dealt with urgently.
So Margin Call is one of my favorite all-time movies, and I think Jeremy Irons was impeccable in his role as the CEO of this fictional company, as I think it's a cross between Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers. And throughout this video, we're going to share different clips of that movie that do a really good job explaining the role of the chief executive officer and the role of his or her staff, the chief executive, the C-suite staff.
Do you care to know why I'm in this chair with you all? I mean, why I earn the big bucks?
The book I wrote, Next Level, is a book for side hustlers and small business owners, and it's designed to help that person understand the different roles in the C-suite and how they apply to the business owner or side hustler. Big businesses, large businesses, Fortune 500 companies or whatever, they have the resources to hire a person for those roles that has the temperament and the skill set to carry out those roles. Most small businesses and side hustlers do not have the resources. So you, as the owner of that business or the person in that side hustle, must take on all those various roles and do it well. Those who do that well can scale their business. Those who do not do it well might make money for a little while, but eventually they'll run out of gas, run out of steam, and more importantly, run out of cash, because there are a lot of moving parts to a business. Now, a side hustler, say you're making $1,000 a month, which is super remarkable. You may not have to go way crazy on it, but if you ever want to scale your business or make it into a full-time income, a lot of these other roles are super important. But today, we're going to start with the number one person in the C-suite, the chief executive officer. The chief executive officer primarily is a visionary. So they are there to read trends. As the fictional CEO of this company from Margin Call tells us.
I'm here for one reason and one reason alone.
And what is that?
I'm here to guess what the music might do a week, a month, a year from now. That's it. Nothing more.
All right, so there he tells us he's there for one reason and one reason alone. That's to hear the music, to catch the frequencies. And so your job as the CEO of your small business or side hustle is to see the invisible and do the seemingly impossible. You must be able to read trends. You must be so deeply ingrained in your business that it's like breathing, right? It comes naturally for you. And that only comes through work, comes through research, it comes through being part of the business, getting really involved in, and not just down in the weeds and details. And we'll use the example of a food truck throughout this video. So if you own a food truck, you're going to be the CEO, so you have the vision for this food truck. You're going to be the CFO, means you have to control the expenses. You're going to be the chief operating officer. You're going to make sure things are done properly. So, your vision for this food truck is you want to share a special recipe that came down from your family, moved over from a different country to the United States, and you have this great recipe that's been in the family for a long time and you want to share with people. And that's a great vision. You can share that vision with stakeholders, investors, whatever, and with customers. Like, oh my God, I get to taste your Nana's whatever meal it is. We'll say zakuska. You get to share Bonika's zakuska recipe, right? And so you want to share that with people. That's a great vision. That's, again, a primary role of the chief executive officer. So in Margin Call, Mr. Tolda, he was saying basically, my role is to do this. Now, the clip you didn't see, if you haven't seen the movie, you don't know. But he's like, my job is to hear the music and basically understand the frequencies and the trends. And what we didn't play is that he said, and I don't hear nothing. So that means he had so much confidence in his ability to read the trends in that business world. When he didn't hear anything, he knew it was basically Armageddon in the business world. Things were going to go south super fast. It was going to be ridiculously bad, and they had to get out of it. And then so that as a visionary, see, where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. They run wild. They have no sense of order. And that's a good biblical reference for us, and it applies in the business world. A lack of strategy and a lack of vision, and people not on mission, they're doing all kinds of crazy things that may be okay. Kind of like what you'd say, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. We don't want to do that. We want to have a single focus. So one thing you need to do, I encourage you to do as a small business owner, as a side hustler, is take some time, get away, get alone with you, maybe with your spouse, and decide what is our vision for this business. Is it simply to supplement the income and make $500 or $1,000 a month on a side hustle, which is super remarkable. Do not denigrate that at all. That's a lot of money. But that's what it is. Then you need to understand that. Is it to make it scale it so you will make it a full-time income? You want to get to $50, $60, $75,000 a year, $100,000 a year, whatever the case may be. But what is your vision? What is the story that you can share with stakeholders and with customers? Be super clear with it and make it simple. Habakkuk 2:2 says, get the vision and write it down and make it simple. Make it easy to read so when someone sees it and reads it, they can run with it.
And please, speak as you might to a young child or a golden retriever. It wasn't brains that got me here, I can assure you of that.
You don't want to make it complicated. So much corporate vision statement writing and mission statement writing and all these things are nothing more than corporate gobbledygook. It's kind of like, kind of like Charlie Brown's teacher. You can read it. Who was that in Finding Nemo? The turtles was talking, but Marlin, was that name Marlin, the dad? He couldn't understand. He goes, his mouth is moving, but I have no idea what he's saying. Sometimes you can read these corporate statements and you go, it said a lot, but it didn't really say anything. A lot of words, but didn't mean anything. Don't make that mistake. As the CEO of your side hustle, please start thinking yourself as the CEO of your side hustle. You're not just a dog walker or a house cleaner or a window washer. You are the chief executive of a business. The size of the business is irrespective to the role you're taking on. You are the visionary. So we have a Bible incident where Noah, most of us, even if you're not a Christian, have heard the story of Noah. And so Noah heard from God. God's like, yeah, it's going to rain, Noah. You have to build a boat. Well, in the biblical text, there's really no history of rain. It talks about water coming up from the ground. So, most of the people in the biblical times were Middle Eastern, right? This didn't happen in Kentucky, right? This wasn't an American thing. So this is a desert. Rain is very uncommon, especially enough to need a boat. But basically it said Noah heard from God and moved with godly fear. And he began to build this boat, him and his family. So he had a team around him. He was able to communicate the vision to the other people, and they all actually pitched in. So he was clearly a clear communicator, simple. But he actually did all the work. So what have you heard? What have you heard that's made you move with godly fear? I have a friend from grad school. He actually has a very successful international business right now where his company makes automation machinery. They make automation machinery for a lot of big companies. He started his business with a very modest inheritance from, I think it was his grandmother. I mean, it was like a 5-figure inheritance, which, you can't. Can you start an international business based on that? Yeah, he did. He actually bought a lathe, a metalworking lathe, from the Goodwill store, and began his company. And now he has offices here where I live. He has an office on the East Coast of the United States, has an office on the West Coast of the United States, and an office in Europe. Started with that. It's kind of like Elijah. He was praying one day, and rain was getting ready to come. He knew rain was getting ready to come. And he was praying for rain to come to end the drought. And he sent his servant up there and says, do you see any clouds? Like, I don't see anything. And then, this is, again, the desert. And he's like, his servant came back again and said, do you see any clouds? He goes, well, I see one about the size of a man's hand. So we're talking about the size of a billiard ball. And Elijah's like, get ready, it's coming. So let me ask you, what cloud have you seen in your industry, in your business? See, this is where the visionary piece comes to play for a business owner. Again, I'm encouraging you to take whatever size your business is seriously. Do not make light of it. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. When you're talking to people, develop a story about your business. I highly encourage a book called Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller and Business Made Simple. I mean, you can get them for like $10, maybe, probably less if you use you're an e-reader. But he has a whole chapter on developing a storyline for your business and explaining how to talk about how your business works. And he juxtaposes a couple different businesses in it and shares how you can share. So you're in a party and someone says, "What do you do?" And you're like, "Well, I'm a dog walker." And they're like, "Oh, okay, interesting." But then, the other person using in Donald Miller's kind of tool set, he's like, "Oh, you know how most parents now, both of them work?" "Yeah, I know." And a lot of families have pets, they have dogs, and like, yeah, and they're stressed out because the dog's home alone, and they maybe don't have the resources to put it in like doggy daycare. Like, yeah, well, I actually walk their dog while they're at work, so their life is better. They're not feeling guilty, and the kids are happy, and the dog is well taken care of. Which one's more better? Which one's better? The latter, not the former, right? So develop a story for your business. And I encourage you to buy that book. Go to the library and check it out if you don't have the $10. But I encourage you to start developing a story around your business and share it with many people as possible. But the chief executive must be up high, must be looking for trends. Food truck. Let's go to food truck. Do we need a second truck? What if this trend was just a fad? Now we need to pivot. So a lot of times in businesses, and the chief executive must be able to pivot, must be able to call audibles, must be able to move and make quick decisions based on the information they have. And so that's why it's important to immerse yourself in your industry and in your business and be a expert in your industry and business. I mean, right now, information is at our fingertips for anything. You could find out data on food trucks or whatever, recipes, anything you want. What's the easiest way to make money in a food truck? What's the most expensive way? What will people actually pay? Where's the most populated areas of your city? Where's the most car traffic, foot traffic? All those things matter. I mean, I'm surprised when I see someone open a new business, a clothing store in an itty bitty small town. Now, perhaps they're doing business online and then just have a small storefront, but typically they're not. People want to start a business, but they don't think it through. They don't really have a vision. What they're really doing is buying themselves a job. They're not buying a business. And so it's important to be able to think it through and say, is this business sustainable? Will it be profitable? Do I have enough foot traffic, car traffic, whatever you need? So, you start a food truck in a town of, 1,000 people, it's gonna be challenging. I've heard a story recently where there's a guy, he was a very successful chef at 2 really nice restaurants, and he bought into the idea of starting a food truck. Now, starting a food truck can be a great idea, but you need capital to last because, what do you have, how much money do you have? What if people don't come flocking to your food truck? Now, when I worked in Chicago, there was a whole row. My office was on South Wacker, and there's a whole row just a block away of food trucks. I could get anything I wanted at a food truck, and they were lined up, right? But if you're in a small town, you start a food truck, and this gentleman partnered with somebody else, started a food truck. It lasted 4 days, and they closed down. Now he didn't have a job and didn't have a business. He did not really think. He did not see the invisible and do the impossible. He just kind of rolled the dice and went with it and made a really short-sighted decision. So as the chief executive officer, you are the chief visionary, communicator, and you must kind of have your hand in every area. Now, again, this is semantics, right? So I use the analogy of putting on a hat. So are you able to adjust? So you're in the food truck and you're making whatever. Let's say, you're making hamburgers and you have this great recipe. I'll go back to the zakuska. Most people don't know what zakuska is. But let's say you're making zakuska and you're making different ways. And so you had to make the zakuska sauce. So you had to roast the peppers and then use the, tomatoes if you use it, and the different seasonings and the olive oil and the garlic and everything. So you're doing that. Well, that's not really a chief executive officer's job, but it needs to be done. So now you're putting on the chief operating officer. Let's say that's because you're operating. You're down in the trenches of what's going on. And then, you're taking money and you're balancing the books at the end of the day, right? You're the chief financial officer. And then you need to take some time. I don't know how much it is. It's going to be different for all of you. Step back and say, okay, I need to put on the chief executive officer hat and I need to think strategy. I'm super busy. I'm working 14-hour days. Can I afford to do that? We need to, diversify, or we need to hire somebody. And this is part of the vision, the strategy. And then you need to consult with the other roles. And the other roles are you. But you have to make an adjustment in your mind when you're doing this. You have to think like a visionary and not like someone who's just, and I'm not saying just in a bad way, but you're the one doing all the work. You're stirring the sauce, so to speak. You're not thinking about strategy. You're not thinking about expansion. You're not thinking about trends. You're not thinking about trends and just fads. Thinking about replacement of equipment. All those things matter. As a chief executive officer, that is the number one job. Now, again, small business owners and visionaries, side hustlers, whatever, generally do very well in this area. It's when the ball starts rolling and the business starts coming in, and the books need to be balanced, and the bank needs to be talked to, and the taxes need to be paid, and the risks need to be eliminated. That's where it gets challenging, because you can't always live in the chief executive officer hat. You can't always operate in that, because zakuska needs to be cooked, right? And you need to balance the books, and you need to eliminate risk and mitigate risk. You need to sign contract and do legal stuff. And so I believe the movie Margin Call does a great job sharing the different roles in that capacity, going around the table: the chief marketing officer, chief trading officer, chief risk officer, and chief legal officer.
Mr. Cole, Ms. Robertson, I'm afraid I think this is where you're supposed to step back in. Lord knows we've relied enough on Mr. Sullivan tonight. What do you have for us?
So what should we do?
Sell it all today.
Is that even possible, Sam?
Yes, but at what cost?
Ramesh?
They can slow you down. They can't stop you. It's yours to sell.
So, anyway, blessings to you. I have a strong heart for small business owners and side hustlers. I believe making money now is easier than ever. And I hope your business is successful. Please, if you want some encouragement, please order the book. You can get it on Amazon for like $5 or $6 on Kindle, or almost 15 for the the physical copy. But I go through each of the different roles. I've been doing this, working with small businesses for over 2 decades, and the good ones understand each role. The ones who don't last stay in one. Usually either the chief executive, I'm a visionary, which usually is short-sighted, or they get into the operations and forget everything else. But I hope this video has been a blessing to you. If it has, please like, subscribe, share. And until then, I dare you to profit so that you can practice and promote radical, revolutionary generosity. Blessings.